This year marks the 10th year of Windows 10, which was released to the public on July 29, 2015. But for about 2 weeks, Windows 10 is already losing its support back in October 14th of this year. Hi everyone, I'm Everything Windows, and this is the 7 plus 3 years of Windows 10. Here we are with the freshly installed Windows 8.1 desktop and a blank virtual machine. Both are for different purpose. One for the upgrade saga, the other one for a clean install for each new installation takes place. But for each new changes, I'll mostly show you from the clean install perspective, and any changes from the upgrade will be shown from the upgrade saga virtual machine. We're gonna install 10 plus 18 builds of Windows 10 from its first development year back in 2014 to its final year in 2022. One disclaimer, not all changes from each build are gonna be shown here, but I will point out several visible significant changes, and if I miss any changes that you know, tell us in the comments down below. The first build that we're gonna be checking out is Windows 8.1 build 9796, which was compiled on July 15th, 2014, coincidentally around 1 year before Windows 10 was released to manufacturers. This is a pre-technical preview build, and there are two publicly available builds before this, build 9780 and build 9785. As for the setup itself, no significant changes were made apart from the confidentiality watermark at the bottom right corner, and there are still Windows 8 or 8.1 branding takes place. This goes the same for the second setup phase. It will show its difference when we enter the out-of-the-box experience, aka OOBE. The option to personalize the PC name and system color theme is removed, and you'll be directed straight to the settings option, which is not a good move. It's quite a downgrade, but yeah, I can't resist anyway. The rest is just similar to Windows 8.1, and you'll be directed right to the desktop. On the other side, upgrading from Windows 8.1 goes smoothly with no obstacles. If you ever upgrade from Windows 7 to Windows 8.1 using a disk image, you'll get the same experience. The OOBE for upgrading only prompts you for the express settings and password for security, and then you are on the desktop. Compared to Windows 8.1, there are significant changes seen in this build. Of course, the first one is the start menu. It returns after 3 years of absence since Windows 8 developer preview back in mid-2011. It combines the Windows 7 recent and old apps with the Windows 8's Wall Street tiling app arrangement, which is actually introduced prematurely in the 32-bit ARM version of Windows 8.1 Update 3. You can look at all of your installed apps while customizing the layout and style of the Wall Street tiles on the right side. Opening File Explorer, there is a new window animation. The window border has been reduced to simply none, or more accurately, a very thin border. Another change made is the home page, which lists out favorites and frequent places, which would later become quick access, and sort of back to home in Windows 11. On a taskbar, you can enable the early non-functional version of Notification Center. It will display the eye icon at the taskbar, but you can't do anything yet. Taking a step back to the start menu, you can see that the OneNote application bundled in Windows 8 was no longer included. But this applies to a clean install only, as an upgraded installation will still keep the app. Moving to the PC settings, there is a new page coming for later builds, the flights page, which might later be the Windows Insider program. There are several branches that you can choose to receive updates from. All those changes are visible when you do a normal installation, but there are still many changes that can be enabled when you have the correct registry key. When you merge those registries, log off and log on, there are more changes visible. First up, the Metro applications are now windowed rather than full screen. The window layout still follows the Metro style with additional buttons on the left side. You can resize the window like normal application would. This is one key feature for what's next in Windows 10. Smaller changes include a new Devices Flow application and a new multitasking button on the taskbar that helps users navigate between applications. The next build is Windows 10 Technical Preview Build 9841, which was compiled on September 30th, 2014. On the same date, Microsoft officially announced the next version of Windows, Windows 10. There was a common question around the fact that the next version wasn't called Windows 9 or Windows 8.2. Some people assume that it's 789. Some are saying that it breaks the compatibility as the number 9 is mistakenly associated with Windows 95 and 98, and basically more. While Terry Myerson, as the executive vice president of Microsoft at the time, says that, in quote, just how different our approach will be overall, it wouldn't be right to call it Windows 9. This build was made available to the public the next day, along with the new open collaborative development efforts named Windows Insider program, where people who enrolled will get preview builds of Windows to experiment, use, and provide feedbacks on. During the setup, the confidentiality watermark was removed because the build is available to the public. And yeah, that's all for changes. When you upgrade from a previous version, the technical preview branding is visible through many aspects of the setup. Fast forward, and we're on the desktop. Looking at the desktop, the Welcome to Tech Preview shortcut is planted on the desktop. As for Metro applications, the title bar has been polished to pair with the established modern app title bar. App icon for Metro apps is now available, as well as menus from the Charms bar move to the 3 dots button on the left side. In this build, search is enabled by default, and it's still functional as intended before Microsoft encryptify it later. The multitasking button on the taskbar is now transformed to Task View, which now allows you to have multiple desktops, which is a long feature added on Linux distros. The Devices Flow app gets an update. The Notification Center apparently functions in this build. The new print dialog is now available, and a build before this includes so many development applications to test out various functions and features for the Feature UWP app. Next, the PC Settings app now has the Windows Update TH page, which is the page used to replace the current Windows Update page. It's still non-functional with placeholder buttons and text. Lastly, the notification toast in this build has been moved to the bottom right corner of the screen. The next build is Windows 10 Technical Preview Build 9879, which was the third technical preview compiled on November 3rd, 2014. Upgrading from a previous build is pretty straightforward. What's different in this build is that the OBE is now using the white-purple color theme, which will be one of the pivoting colors during the Windows 10 development. The same color theme was also encountered when you clean installed this build. After that, well, we're on the desktop. The first thing I want to point out in this build is that you can finally enable Notification Center. Well, at least in my case, as previous builds don't have the options to do it. I don't know why, but I do remember build 9841 could toggle the Notification Center on. But anyway, this is how the Notification Center would look like. Any notification will go on this flyout. Opening Windows Explorer, the home page is now different with the favorites part removed from it. Also, a new window animation is used, which provokes the smooth zoom out effect, compared to the previous build, which uses a smooth slide in. As for Internet Explorer, there's a feedback button now. Yeah, the smiley face is the feedback button, but I can't stand a smile, only a frown. Oh yeah, remember about with the Windows 9 name not being used because Terry said it wouldn't be right? Well, if you open this file in this build, and there it is, the Windows 9 reference. And frankly enough, you don't need to install build 9879 to see this reference. Your Windows 10 or Windows 11 installation still has this too by navigating to the same file path. So they did indeed consider Windows 9 as a name, well, at least as a codename. As another codename, Windows Blue, listed here, which is a codename for Windows 8.1. Next, PC settings. The 3 dots icon is now changed to the hamburger icon, and the window style was reverted back to its previous state. Aside from that, if you look at the bottom, there's a storage sense option that serves as a smart storage management feature for your storages. Although for now, its functionality is still in early stage. Also in this build, an experimental version of PC settings, ZPC settings, is included. Within ZPC settings, several categories and placement changes are in this build, some of which are subject to test out experimental features like in quote, Windows Defender for great justice, mobile hotspot, data sense, more personalization, corners and edges, and many more. Other than that, there are several applications hidden in this build that can be executed by invoking the right command. First up, the Windows lock screen app that just shows you the lock screen, nothing else. Second one, Cloud Experience Host, which I don't really understand what it's for. And lastly, Windows Shell Experience Host, which I also don't understand what it's for. If you know what they are, tell us in the comments down below. Yeah, again. Just like in the last build, there are changes logged under registries. These changes are starting to get really interesting. First of all, the new logon screen. The lock screen uses a transparent background to test out whether it's properly invoking the logon screen or not. And the logon screen layout is heavily different from what we see from the previous build. The user list is now displayed on the left side of the screen, and the logon prompt is located right beside it. Oh, I forgot to tell you that in previous builds, the text for the lock screen is actually Comic Sans. Yeah, I kid you not. When you're finally on the desktop, yes, the search box is right there to replace the search icon. And it's still a work in progress too. And also, the new start menu, based on XAML, is still bare bone with only Metro apps listed there. Fair point. A non-functioning power and force screen icon, and Groot as the username, a funny nod to the Groot character in the Marvel comics. Oh yeah, mind you, this won't be the only time they refer to Marvel comics for the Windows 10 development. The next build that we're gonna check out is Windows 10 Technical Preview Build 9909, which was compiled on December 13th, 2014. The upgrading stage is still pretty similar. This goes the same with the clean installation. Restarting the OS, the logon screen received minor updates by moving the user list to the bottom right corner of the screen, and the user picture is cropped to a circle. Starting with the desktop, the shortcut for Welcome to Tech Preview has been removed for a clean installation. The taskbar design has been updated slightly with smaller apps icon there. The XAML start menu has been updated with the correct username, Working Wall Street, and Win32 applications listed. You can make the start menu full screen, reverting back as the start screen. And the power button functions now. The option to use start screen is removed in this build. Search is now finalized with Cortana starting to appear in there. You need a Microsoft account for that, but I don't have any. You're still able to search like usual, but without the Cortana benefit. The Connect pane has been updated to use the new Windows design, and the shortcut to Windows Update has been removed. In an effort to discontinue the Charms bar, the settings options inside has been removed. Opening the Windows Explorer, the home folder is renamed to Quick Access. It's about time. And by opening PC settings, which is now called settings, it has a revamped homepage with categories listed at the center with their descriptions and icons. Opening any categories will direct you to their categories with the search bar now present. The Metro title bar has been updated with the new caption box icons as well as the full screen option on the left side of the bar. On the system category, there's a new windowing page. For the network and internet category, Wi-Fi, Ethernet, and VPN finally have their own separate pages. For the personalization category, you can change the background from settings. And I accidentally made the settings app crash because I set the background to slideshow. Tablet mode is introduced by using the Shift, Windows, and tilde shortcut, which will show you a notification prompting you to switch to it. Within this mode, applications are full screen by default, and you can tile the windows as what you would with Metro applications in Windows 8.1. Apart from that, there are several Metro applications added here, like Remind Me and Inside Hub. And not just that, the default Metro applications are updated too, such as Alarms, Calculator, Sound Recorder, and the beta version of the new Windows Store. This updated Metro application didn't appear when you upgrade from a previous build. Well, apparently. Following the tradition, registries are needed to unlock certain features. A preview build page is here as the more final form of the Flights tab. As for the taskbar, there is a new clock layout which displays time and date and an option to add additional clocks. The soon-to-be Action Center was also in development and can be accessed by using Windows 8 shortcut. And finally, Microsoft Eva Voice.
You have selected Microsoft Eva Mobile, English, United States, as the computer's default voice.
After this, the build that we're gonna check out next is Windows 10 Technical Preview Build 9926, which is the 4th technical preview build compiled on January 19th, 2015. The Windows 10 branding started to appear within this build, including the installer, which now describes itself as Windows 10 Technical Preview, not just Windows Technical Preview. And that's the changes visible in the setup, both from the upgrade and clean installation. First of all, the lock screen background has been changed. Entering the desktop, the watermark size has been reduced, and also all hidden features you see in previous builds are now accessible without any registries needed. Charms bar was finally removed in this build. As for the start menu, there are several improvements such as a minor icon change. The Action Center now adds quick actions, where you can do essential actions with just a click. In Windows Explorer, icons for user folders have been changed, as well as the folder icon. Also within File Explorer, the window theme is now polished to look like what we see in the final version. Even though there is one difference in the caption box size that still uses the earlier version. This makes the icon much more float to the top, and this triggers a little bit of my OCD. Opening settings, the icons for categories are finally added. Search bar was added to the upper right side, and each page within settings now receives minor changes. And since this is a Metro application, the title bar now uses a light grey color. As for the full screen button, its placement was moved to in between the maximize and close button, which is strange, but it works. This next build is pretty interesting. Windows 10 Technical Preview Build 10005, which is compiled on January 25th, 2015. This was the first build to have the 5-digit build number. As for the actual changes in this build, well, not much. The spacing between each application on the taskbar was reduced, and the title text for File Explorer is now left aligned when maximized. And that's all the changes I can find. Well, mainly because there's just 6 days apart between this build and the previous build we checked out, so yeah. Time for the next build, Windows 10 Technical Preview Build 10049, which was the 6th technical preview build compiled on March 25th, 2015. Starting from this build, when you upgrade from a previous build, a new progress information page during the setup is now present. This page may seem familiar to you who upgraded from Windows 7 or 8.1 to Windows 10 between 2015 to 2017, if I remember correctly. If you installed this build from scratch, you'll be greeted with a slightly changed OOBE that uses a light blue color theme, and it prompts you to connect to the internet when you don't. This is for signing in into a Microsoft account, which will start a long way to the present day. Otherwise, you can still make a local account. Restarting the OS, the logon screen receives a minor layout change. And on the desktop, the recycle bin icon changed to use the flatter variant. As for the taskbar, the Windows logo on the start button was smaller. The web shortcut pinned to the taskbar and the show desktop button can be seen. Opening the start menu, there are several tweaks to the layout as shortcuts to several key components of the OS are now available below the user picture, and also smaller text for the username. As for File Explorer, local drives are no longer listed on the navigation page, and more changes to icons such as the local disk. Metro applications also got a tiny change. The full screen icon relocated again to the left side of the minimize button, such as what's seen in this music app. Another Metro application, Settings, received some changes, like in this page. The toggles and the slider design were updated. For settings specific changes, several display options were moved to its dedicated Advanced Display Settings subpage. Error snap reference in the multitasking page has been removed, along with settings for virtual desktop were added. From this build on, you can pin a page or category to the start menu. For this build, the option to do it is visible right there. Clicking it will automatically pin the page or category to the start menu. Rather than navigating through settings, you can just click the tile to go directly to the settings you desire. Still with Metro applications, several system applications have got some changes. From what I can see, the applications are starting to use light theme by default, as you see in Alarms and Clock, Calculator, and Voice Recorder. Going back to settings, you can export your documents to PDF directly through a virtual printer named Print to PDF. Within this build, there are additional files that you can enable. By doing so, you'll get the new volume flyout and work in progress network flyout. Finally, a new web browser for Windows has been introduced, Project Spartan. The browser is still very limited in functionality because it's still very early in development. Let's check out the next build, Windows 10 Insider Preview Build 10074. Yes, the first Insider Preview build of Windows 10, which was compiled on April 24th, 2015. When you upgrade from a previous build, the installation process will say installing Windows 10 with technical preview text removed because of the reason we know earlier. And that's for all the changes for installation when you upgrade. But when it comes to clean installation, the OOBE has a slight tweak to use more light blue as the color theme. When you enter the desktop, you can directly see the change by looking at the recycle bin, which has the icon exactly what's seen in the final version. Other changes can be seen in the taskbar as the accent color in it removed. The search bar was made as big as the taskbar. Task view received a new final icon. The time and date alternate layout seen in previous build is now enabled by default. The action center is slightly transparent and uses a darker color scheme. And the new volume flyout. Opening the start menu, the power button moved to the bottom right corner above all apps. And resizing the start menu is pretty much possible, although it's quite buggy for now. And the last change is that the icon frame for Win32 applications uses the user's accent color, rather than the icon's dominant color like in previous builds. Next, File Explorer. Looking at the caption box, its icon is smaller than in previous builds. The quick access icon changed again. Rewind back to the task view, Win32 applications inside no longer have an icon frame. Just like the usual development builds before, Metro applications receives changes too. But first, there is a new app here. Microsoft Solitaire Collection is now included by default after being absent since Windows 8. It's still in preview and GameSafe hasn't been implemented yet. And since it's Solitaire Collection, it's not just Solitaire, but there's Spider Solitaire, Free Cell, Tripeaks, and Pyramid. Calendar and Mail app, helmed under Windows Communication app, was updated with the new design and layout, but I can't get it working here as it's already a long time since this build was available. But this is what the weather app would look like. Another new application, Microsoft Family, that I don't know what it is as it just crashes after a while. Another one, People, is used to store contacts. As for settings, you can finally change the user accent color and background color in the personalization category. On the other side, an effort to migrate settings from control panel to settings can be seen when you open the appearance and personalization category under control panel. The option to change the scaling has been removed, as well as personalization applet now only serves as a theme changing applet. Now, this is one application that typically has minimal changes. Command prompt. It just receives a font change to consoleless with 12 points, not 16 like in the final version. A detour to the personalization, listen to the sounds came in this build. Lastly, some changes were made to the tablet mode. The spacing between taskbar icons such as the start button, search, and task view are longer. And now, when you close an app in tablet mode, start screen will immediately appear. Before we go to the next build, I want to show you what happened to the upgraded installation. Well, the start menu, search, and other functions don't run in this. Very unfortunate. The last development build we're gonna check out for this part of development is Windows 10 Insider Preview build 10159, which is the 5th Insider Preview build, compiled on June 26, 2015, about 2.5 weeks before Windows 10 was released to manufacturing. Jumping straight to the OOBE, when you upgraded from the previous build, the light blue color scheme was finalized throughout all pages. A new page to introduce apps was added. And the preparing Windows part is now using just black and light blue for its fading animation. Restarting the OS, the lock screen is finalized with the logon background screen changed to this background. Now, we're on the desktop of this build. We finally see the brand new default wallpaper for Windows named Hero. If you don't know how this was made, trust me, according to this video by the creator themselves, this hero background was not made by CGI, but it's made by blasting a laser projector to a literal window frame and taken from a specific angle. Absolute cinema. Looking at the start menu, the tile group text size was reduced, and the layout was finalized with File Explorer. Settings option was moved to somewhere above the power button. And this is a thing that I didn't know until I made this video. You can swipe from the bottom to the top in this section to open all apps. As for flyouts, all of them are now in a darkest theme, such as the time and date, action center, volume, and network flyout. And comparing to the previous build, the chevron for icon trays is updated. Cortana is now installed with its own opening animation. Opening File Explorer, the window animation has been changed to use the final animation. The icon for quick access has been finalized, as well as other user folder icons. As for the window layout, the title bar was recolored to just white, and the caption box height was expanded to the rest of the title bar. Keep in mind that this build is very close to RTM, so icons are already expected to be finalized. This can be seen in Control Panel, where most icons have been finalized. Looking at several applets, there are several applets removed, such as Notification Area icons, Family Safety, and Windows Anytime Upgrade, although the last one was replaced with a command line counterpart, changepk.exe. An additional applet was introduced in order to keep the backward compatibility. Backup not restore. The last change for Control Panel is that the option to enable the guest account is no longer available. Speaking of Control Panel, its modern counterpart, Settings, was finalized to center its category icons, and the default user profile changed to the simpler one seen in the final release. The option to pin pages and categories stayed, but it's more hidden. UI elements such as scrollers and toggles have been updated. And finally, the Print as a PDF virtual printer was renamed to Microsoft Print to PDF. Within this build, Metro applications received their last changes to prepare for RTM. 3D Builder was added as a program to, make a 3D object? I actually still don't understand what the functions of it to this day, but I love to use the program whenever it's available back in 2015 or 2016 when I got my old 2014 Lenovo laptop. Get Skype was another Metro application added to get people to download Skype, which is a bit useless for me. Spartan is now Microsoft Edge, and the version was updated to version 20. And it's been a long time since we didn't see the app. It receives many changes that makes it ready for the final version, such as importing bookmarks and favorites from another browser, pinning and unpinning panes, dark theme support, drag and drop to another window, and more. As for other system applications, Snipping Tool now has the ability to use a timer, or delay, as said there. Oh yeah, before we upgraded to the RTM build of Windows 10, let's check out how the OS looks like from the upgrade perspective. Right at the bat, the Welcome to Tech Preview shortcut still exists, although it's renamed to Release Notes with a blank icon. When we open the Start menu, geez, the Windows 8.1 apps are still there hanging out with the rest of the applications. Now that's what I call upgrading. Although if I remember correctly, this violet tile is supposed to be Search or Cortana, but it doesn't function. And in File Explorer, the freaking folders has duplicates. And after all that, finally, we're gonna install Windows 10 build 10.240, which is the RTM build of Windows 10, compiled on July 9th, 2015. And on this point, Windows 10 was finally up for the public to use. Microsoft even provides a free upgrade for Windows 7 and Windows 8.1 users, which will help the OS's market share. The statement made by Jerry Nixon that Windows 10 will be the last version of Windows circles around, as Windows is also moving forward to adopt the software as a service model, which roughly translates to the fact that Windows 10 will never really be considered finished and will be later be shipped continuously with new features and changes under the new feature and quality update scheme. But there's an issue that critics and several users tried to combat: privacy. When someone installs Windows 10, each computer was assigned to a unique advertising ID that will be used by Microsoft to personalize ads. While users can opt out of this data collecting scheme, Alec Meer of Rock Paper Shotgun website's statement summarizes this the best. In quote, Microsoft simply aren't making it clear enough that they're doing this. There is no word which 45 pages of policy documents and opt-out settings split across 13 different settings screens and an external website constitutes real transparency. Apart from that, Windows 10 receives positive reviews from consumers, mainly due to the Start menu's return after people heavily criticized Microsoft for removing it. And by that, Windows 10 was installed on at least 14 million devices in the first 24 hours of its release. It was that many. And by August 2015, Windows 10's market share had drastically increased to 6.1%, aggressively surpassing Windows 8 and Windows Vista, while Windows 8.1 decreased from 19.2% to 16.3%. As we know earlier, Windows 10 introduced updates that will add new features and changes without a major version change, so all updates are done under the Windows 10 version. These are known as feature updates. The first feature update that we're going to see is Windows 10 November Update, or later be known as Windows 10 version 1511 or Threshold 2. The build number for this update is build 10586, which is compiled on October 29th, 2015. The upgrade procedure is really similar to what we see in the original RTM version. That goes the same with the clean installation setup. On the desktop, there is a minimal change seen in the desktop. But when we look at WinVer, the description for the Windows version has been changed as it no longer describes the anti-kernel version because it will always be kernel 10, and of course, it's pointless. Instead, it was changed to the update version. In this case, it's version 1511. The number 1511 derived from the last two digits of the year and the month number combined. This numbering system is used throughout several feature updates until a certain update changes it. Opening the start menu, we can see that there is just one noticeable change. There are several tiles that looks the same with the text "A great app is on its way" and "pending" as the app name. These are actually what would be the third-party applications from Microsoft Store, basically an ad. Speaking of tiles, this version allows you to put up to 2048 tiles and apps, a 400% increase from the earlier version's 512. So if you're really into Windows 10 tiles and Wall Street, yeah, you can add as much tiles and apps as you want to. Oh, also, Sway was added. Sway is kind of a presentation program where you can combine text and images to form a presentational site. Remember that the title bar color is just white in the original RTM version? Well, you can customize it here by going to the Settings app and navigating to the Colors page under Personalization. Now you can toggle the option to use color on Start, Taskbar, Action Center, and Title bar. Also from Settings, you can disable the logon background, and it will display a solid color background like in Windows 8.1. The last thing I noticed in the Settings app is the Windows 10 logo added to the About page, likely resembling the traditional system applet from Control Panel. Next, Control Panel. It receives icon changes to make it in line with the Windows 10 design. The icon change also applies to Windows PowerShell, which I didn't notice it until I see this comparison. As for Metro application, Music was rebranded to Groove Music, although I can't get it running here. Microsoft Edge now has tab previews and updated to version 25. Phone application was added to make a phone call, but I don't think that it functions here as it's a computer, and I don't have a dial-up, modem, or phone to connect to, but here's what the app looks like. At this point, Windows 10 was getting more famous among its users, but there are several issues when people want to upgrade to this version, starting from the installation just gets stuck, the installation stops at 44%, a black screen, or just refuses to install. Microsoft addressed some of the issues, commenting that the problem was caused by an SD card inserted when the user performed the upgrade. The problem didn't end there. People also complained about driver issues as well as other problems. Privacy was also another problem that people highlighted as telemetry started to be used more prominently. But to those who didn't upgrade to Windows 10 as a whole, there is another rabbit hole for that. If you remember how Windows 10 upgrade was over to Windows 7 and 8.1 users like me, Microsoft provided an application called Get Windows 10 that will constantly remind you to upgrade to Windows 10. To those who don't want to upgrade, well, they have to go through countless workarounds just to disable that. But does that help? No. If you're unlucky, Microsoft will speed up to 6GB of Windows 10 upgrade files to your older Windows installation without your consent. Microsoft's answer was, those files are downloaded to prepare people to upgrade to Windows 10. Well, what if they don't want to? Well, good luck. And even then, if you are willing to upgrade to Windows 10 version 15.11 or Windows 10 in general, the strangest thing that happened during that time is that the tool for downloading Windows 10, Media Creation Tool, was silently gone, leaving behind people who want to download this update. According to ZDNet, a Microsoft spokesperson said that this strange occasion is intentional, as they wanted people to get the update exclusively through Windows Update, which is ridiculous. Putting all of that aside, Microsoft successfully ended the year with the Windows 10 market share increased to 13.98%, while Windows 8.1 now sits at 14.31% and Windows 7 at 55.89%. Now we can see that more people are upgraded to Windows 10. The next update of Windows 10 takes place on July 2016 with the name Windows 10 Anniversary Update and 1607 as the version number, noting the Windows 10's first year of release and 14393 as the build number, a massive jump from sub 10,000 from the previous update. When you upgrade from previous builds or releases, the interface for the upgrading phase was changed from the singular circle to the loading animation that looks similar to when you update using Windows Update before restarting or shutting down the computer. Low-key, I didn't like this version as it's stale and leaves away the immersive upgrading feel, but I can understand Microsoft's move for this. If you're doing a clean installation, there is a Cortana page during the OBE to prompt you to use it. After the update was finally installed, the first change comes within the logon screen as it uses a zoom in and dim effect, moving away from the slide up animation. And here we are on the desktop of Windows 10 Anniversary Update. First of all, the start menu. The icon for third-party apps are now changed to a stale download icon. Also, the most used and all apps are combined into one, and access to File Explorer, Settings, and others is still available in the same position but without the text. This removed one extra step when you want to open a program from the list. Still on the start menu, when you set the start menu to full screen, the app list interface seen in Windows 8 makes a subtle return in this version, compared to the earlier version where you still need to press the app list and the list comes from the left side rather than full screen. Looking at the taskbar, the notification icon was moved to the rightmost of the taskbar just before the Show Desktop button, and it now shows the number of notifications you haven't read. Inside the Action Center, you can customize how the quick action look. Yeah, you can customize it in the Settings app via Notifications and Actions page on the System category. The customization includes which actions you want to display and the order of the actions. Windows Ink Workspace is one of the new features added in this version by serving as the creative hub for all productivity done using the pen, although you can use it with a mouse anyway. This includes sticky notes, sketchpad, and screen sketch. I assume that these are added to replace Windows Journal, which is absent from this update. The next feature is also the feature I just learned when I made this video. Apparently, on Task View, you can pin a window to display on all virtual desktop. This is done by just right-clicking any window and there's the option. I really don't know about this, and this is really powerful to use as a multitasking person. Heck, I'm now using it in Windows 11 24H2 when I'm writing this exact feature. Settings in this update were tweaked with several changes, starting with the home page. The Windows Settings text is now present along with the search box below it. When opening any categories, the search box moved to the left side, and pages have their own dedicated icons to represent them. As for customization, you can now enable the color for the title bar separately from the Start, Taskbar, and Action Center. The option to toggle between light and dark mode for UWP applications is available too. Still on settings, there's actually a sample page to test every single component of the settings app. You can enable it by using a registry, and there you go! You can check out as many toggles, buttons, links, and many more. For those of you who wanted to enroll to the Windows Insider program, the page for it spins off from the Windows Update page. On the other side, continuing the effort to migrate settings from Control Panel, the option to adjust the screen resolution in it has been removed. Clicking the nearest link will redirect you to Settings. Settings for the taskbar was also moved from Control Panel. This lets you customize how the taskbar looks directly from the Settings app. For system applications, Microsoft Edge has now updated to version 30 with extension support that people have actually waited for Microsoft to add, and more features added to Microsoft Edge. Additionally, several applications were added like Quick Assistant that replaces Windows Remote Assistant, Connect to connect displays wirelessly, Skype Preview to replace Get Skype to make it more useful, and the new sticky notes that we saw earlier. Also in this update, when you play a local file using apps like Groove Music, the lock screen displays the media control that lets you pause, move to previous or next file. A refresh to the current feature, User Account Control, was done to align with the new Windows 10 design with XAML. Anyway, do you remember Windows Defender? The built-in protection software from Microsoft? Yeah, the app is slowly being updated too. In this update, you can do an offline scan where the Defender will scan your computer in a lower level to detect more severe viruses and malware. This is what it's supposed to look like. One of the features that I haven't mentioned in this update is Windows Subsystem for Linux. In short, this feature allows Linux programs to run on Windows by implementing a compatibility layer that integrates Linux calls to the Windows kernel. Think of it like how Wine works. Correct me if I'm wrong. As of this update's release, the feature is still marked as beta, with only Ubuntu using Bash shell available. It was prominently called Bash on Ubuntu on Windows or Bash on Windows. Related to this update, users who upgraded to this update praised several aspects of the update, and there are still conflicts related to the selective upgrading method. Paul Thurrott on his website gives this update a positive approach by saying that this update is mostly an iterative or evolutionary update. Several features that Thurrott pointed out are the Windows Ink feature marks as a good step for Microsoft to mature themselves within the pen computing sector after several failed attempts. He also pointed out that Cortana was improved over the last update, as well as extension support in Edge. But the good news stops from there, as there is still issue about the upgrading method that I teased earlier. Let's start with the outcome of Microsoft's free upgrade saga. Terry Goldstein, a woman who runs a traveling agency in California, sued Microsoft over this upgrade scheme, noting that it renders her work ineffective as computers upgraded to Windows 10 crashes upon use. Eventually, she won the case when Microsoft dropped the appeal, paid her $10,000, and denied their wrongdoing, but rather said that it was to prevent further expenses on litigation. Tom Warren from The Verge pointed out that Microsoft begins to do some dishery by slowly forcing users to upgrade with deceptive UI changes, from pressing the X button schedules the update anyway to a full screen nag. As Windows 10 started to be adopted even massively, China wanted to ban Windows from the parent country in response to Microsoft's deprecation of Windows XP. And since Microsoft didn't want to lose the market, they partnered with a Chinese tech company to develop a special version of Windows 10 aimed to comply with the government standard labeled Windows 10 Zhuanggongban. Sorry if I pushed that name. With that, by August 2016, Windows 10 spiked from 13.98% in December 2015 to a whopping 29.63%, surpassing Windows 8.1 that drops from 14.31% to 10.16%, while Windows 7 also dropped from 55.89% to 48.37%. Microsoft revealed that Windows 10 has finally reaches 400 million active machines, further proving the spike in market share. Creators Update is the next feature update that comes to Windows 10, which was released on April 11, 2017 with 1703 as the version number and 15063 as the build number. There are two development builds that we're going to check out before we install the final version. The first development build that we are seeing in this update is build 14964, compiled on November 7th, 2016 from the rs_shell_vhub_mid-top branch, which I assume is the branch where UI and UX feature experiments take place. When upgrading from a previous build, I noticed that the second setup phase uses the user's accent color, in this case a purple-like color that actually from the Windows 10 1507 builds if I remember correctly. That's really good that it keeps the configuration. If you make a clean installation of this build, you'll get the new Work in Progress OOBE that describes itself as inclusive. The reason why can be seen when you enter it. You have the option to navigate the OOBE by using your voice, although it's non-functional as of this build for me. It's still a heavy work in progress as the interface wasn't laid out perfectly in 1024x768. Nonetheless, you can complete the OOBE and go straight to the desktop. Now, when you open Action Center for the first time, you'll be greeted by the introduction notification, which I don't have it here, but this is what it would look like. Moving to the Start button, if you press Windows X or right-click the button, the options within the menu are now directing you to the Settings app, rather than Control panel. Again, this is an effort to migrate configurations to the Settings app. As for the Start menu, you can now hide the app list when you open the Start menu. Well, you can still access it by pressing an additional button at the left side. Within Windows settings, enabling developer mode will no longer require you to restart the whole system. Moving to system applications, Microsoft Edge updated to version 39 with several new features such as snooze a tab and exporting favorites to an HTML file. Registry editor of all apps is receiving new quality of life features like an editable address bar to navigate through keys more easily. Unlike the Windows 10 1507 builds, where you can enable certain features by using registries, a new mechanism was made to lock certain features from the public by using numeric values known as velocity staging keys or feature ID. This implementation was done as early as Windows 10 version 1511. There are so many experimental changes that's hidden under this system and require a special software to enable them. In this case, I'm using Mark II made by Rafael Rivera. After enabling the IDs and relogging in to the desktop, we are ready to see changes unseen to the public at the time. The first noticeable new feature we see is the people icon on the taskbar. It allows you to look for contacts, pin them, and contact them easily. This is done by utilizing the People app that we have in earlier updates. It's still early in development, as the feature would not make any appearance in later builds until the next feature update. Next, the share pane that existed since Windows 8 has been changed to an early version of the share dialog that's much simpler and compact. It also adds the option to turn on the share that's self-explanatory, sharing things to those near you. Action Center got a little tweak where it uses the Windows Phone and Windows Andromeda version. It looks different from the normal Action Center as you can collapse it by swiping from the bottom. I accidentally enabled two of them, so this is what the Windows Phone version would look like, and this is what the Windows Andromeda version would look like. As for the Settings app, adding a device will prompt you with a new window, rather than a flyout. This layout still exists to this day. Another migration effort can be seen with the theme settings now available in this app. The smaller change includes recent color changes available in the color page. The last change is that command prompt slowly replaced by PowerShell as the command line program seen in the context menu. The second development build for this feature update is build 15017, compiled on February 5th, 2017, under the rs_shell_A51 branch, another branch for UI and UX feature experiments. No changes on the upgrading part, but there is a change in the clean installation part. The inclusive OOB we just saw was finalized.
I'm Cortana, and I'm here to help. A little sign in here, a touch of Wi-Fi there, and we'll have your PC ready for all you plan to do. You can use your voice or the keyboard along the way, and if you'd like me to stay quiet, just select the sound icon. If you need an assistive screen reader, press the Windows, Control, and Enter keys at the same time to enable narrator. Okay, enough intro. Let's dig in.
Fast forward to the desktop, there are already changes, such as the Mail app is now pinned by default, and the new briefcase icon that we'll check out later. Opening the start menu, tiles can be stacked one upon another to create a tile folder. And that's the change. The share dialog we see in previous build is now enabled by default and finalized here. And by that, the old share pane from the Windows 8 was finally removed. UWP applications received a quality of life change. Scroll bars are now hidden by default when it's not used, and they will expand when you hover over them. While we're on settings, several changes have been made to some pages. First up, the display page now uses more drop-down boxes rather than a slider. This also makes the advanced display page, or subpage, absorbed into the main display page. On the colors page, you can set a custom color for your user's accent color. The themes page was finalized in this build. On the Windows Update page, there is a new icon in place for indicating updates. And the removable drivers page have been introduced in the same category as Windows Update. Another UWP application, Microsoft Edge, received several features such as tab preview, set aside where you can put your tabs into a group in the background that you can open later, and importing data from another browsers. The snooze feature was removed in this build. Do you know why? Tell us in the comments down below. Oh yeah, if you happen to still use Internet Explorer for default web browsing for some reason, there's an option to open a new tab in Microsoft Edge. I don't know if that's entirely useful, but hey, at least it's there. Next, when you open Paint, there's a new button that lets you use a brand new, soon-to-be replacement Paint 3D. As you would expect, is a UWP app. It's basically just Paint with more features, prominently 3D functionality. You can view the canvas in 3D, add 3D objects, features, stickers, and more. At some point in Insider builds before this, Paint 3D was replacing Paint for any file related to it. But due to backlash, it was reverted and coexists instead alongside the traditional Paint. A tiny change comes to the registry editor, where fonts in the program are replaced to the Sego UI, like the rest of the OS. The last UWP app added in this build is Windows Defender Security Center, which soon replaced the Win32 version. There's a shortcut in the start menu, but I can't get it to work here. We'll see how it would look in the final version. A new shortcut, Windows Shift S, is used to create a screenshot by utilizing the Snipping Tool app. The screenshot copies to the clipboard, which you can paste and edit later. As for the Snipping Tool app, there is a new mode option to have different types of screenshots such as full screen, window, rectangle, or freeform. After all those changes, there are still two features hidden under the registries, although one of them is already visible right before our eyes. That is, the briefcase icon on the taskbar, but we can enable all of them right now. The briefcase icon is actually supposed to be a new working sets feature to sort out files and contacts under one set. It is called Tabs Explorer here. It has three variants that we can try. The first variant looks like this. It is mostly blank, with the only options available are adding a new set or closing any. The second variant looked more chronological as it has Summary and Details tab with a scroll bar representing date. This variant will immediately close or crash after a few moments for me. The third variant is the most finished looking out of the three. This one suggests that we can have a template of a set and a store to install them. This one also closes or crashes immediately after opening it. But there is another evidence of this feature being implemented, as when you close a virtual desktop, a dialog prompts you to have a set. The second feature hidden under the registries is sets. Yes, that sets feature that I made a video about 2 years ago, I believe. An early working prototype of this feature is available in this build by setting a string value within a key to explorer.exe. And from there, you can have a program with multiple tabs for other programs. It's still buggy, as you've seen this. Where do you go, title bar? The final version of this update, build 15063, was compiled on March 17th, 2017. It was initially released to insiders on FastRing on March 20th, and then to SlowRing on March 23rd, and finally to release preview on March 30th. And when I install it from scratch, I can finally try the voice-driven OOBE.
Your region is set to United States. Is that right?
This OOBE would be the base for Windows 10's OOBE throughout its tenure. A small change in the final version is that one link on the control panel is removed, as you see in this comparison. Oh yeah, I promised you to show the Windows Defender Security Center in this version. This is how it would look like. It's still familiar to most of you who are on Windows 10 and 11, and it's essentially the same user interface, albeit with less features considering this is the first public version of the app. And by that, settings for Windows Defender have now moved from the Settings app to the WDSC app. Along with this update, several concerns still arise among people, like the European users still deem the privacy part of Windows 10 not enough. During the release of this update, Windows 10's market share was still climbing from 29.63% to 35.76%, while Windows 8.1 slowly fell behind from 10.16 to 9.44%. On the other hand, Windows 7 still holds the majority from 48.37% to around 46%. Following the previous update, this update was named Fall Creators Update as it signifies the improvements over previous updates while still feels new. It was released to the public on October 17th, 2017 with 1709 as the version number and build 16299 as the final build number, a noticeable jump from the previous update. We will check out one development build of this update before we install the final version. The development build chosen for this update is build 16212, which is compiled on May 31st, 2017, from the rs_edge_case branch. This build was only available on x86 devices, so we can't upgrade to this build as I'm using x64. After installing from this build, we can see that on the desktop, the people button on the taskbar returns and now has its final form. It functions the same way as we already saw, with the addition of apps compatible with this feature. Opening the start menu, there is one change. The balloon icon at the upper right may be noting that this is a development build or development version. Oh, also, I don't know if this counts as a new feature or not, but now the Mail app supports Gmail, as you see in the live tile. Looking at settings, a few changes have been made. The Windows 10 logo seen in the About page is no longer seen, and the Windows Inside Program page icon is now the famous Ninja Cat. Do you remember when Ninja Cat is the mascot for Inside the Program? Alright, now, the reason why I picked this build for a development build is that there is one feature that may ring a bell to you when you see it. Look at when I click this gear icon on the taskbar. See? Does this ring a bell to you? It's Control Center, or rather an earlier version of it. You will see this feature makes a return in, of course, Windows 11. Or is it? Okay, now, time to install the final version of this update, build 16299.15, compiled on September 20th, 2017. When you install this build, you will notice that the lock screen background was changed from the famous cave thing in New Zealand to a lake now. On the desktop, the notification toast has been changed to be more afloat. 3D Builder is no longer installed by default on clean installation as there is already 3D Paint. Starting with this update, a new design philosophy was adopted by Microsoft to signify its newer approach, named Fluent Design. It focuses on bringing many details in their design to feel more fluent and seamless. This effort can be seen when you open Calculator, where there is an acrylic effect inside it. This design philosophy will continue to be applied throughout Windows 10's development. I haven't shown one change in an application in particular. Windows Movie Maker made a soft comeback with Story Remix on the Photos app. You can make a family video or just your hobby video with the Photos app by combining photos and adding transitions, effects, and others. I personally used this feature when it first came out due to curiosity, but I never really picked up on this anymore as I already have another more professional editing software. An application that I haven't mentioned is Windows Mixed Reality, which is a 3D platform for augmented and virtual reality that was available for those who have the appropriate headset. Apart from general complaints about this update being slow on some devices and complaints related to Windows 10, after 2 years of its release to the public, Windows 10 finally reached its new all-time high from 35.53% to 41.36%, while Windows 8.1 now sits at 9.03% and Windows 10 drops to 42.51%. We are opening 2018 with a new update named April 2018 Update, contrary to what's spread around as Spring Creators Update. The version number for this update is 1803 and the build number is 17134. We're gonna take a look at 2 development builds of this update before we installing the final version, because this update has a very interesting development build. Opening the development build of this update with build 17,000 compiled on August 21st, 2017. I know some of you will say that, wow, Microsoft finally has a less cluttered build number for their Windows build. And yes, I agree with that since we didn't really get this less cluttered build numbers since Windows 10's 9900 or 10,005, but I'm sorry to tell you that this build is picked for a reason. While upgrading from a previous build seems fine by the surface, no errors are seen throughout, but when I do a clean installation, it starts to show its issue. First up, the OOBE is dead. You can't access it because UWP apps are broken. Good luck trying to install this build manually. I have to enter commands and edit registries to manually add a new user, basically skipping the whole OOBE. And we're on the desktop. So what's wrong with this build apart from the UWP being broken? Well, yeah, you know already, the UWP is broken. This can be seen when we open the start menu. There are no UWP apps installed apart from Cortana and settings. So Microsoft accidentally made Tiny 10? Well, no, of course not. If you open command prompt, the build number written inside is not 17,000, but 0616.
How did this happen?
Well, basically, build numbers are stored as a 16-bit unsigned integer, or 16 zeros and ones. But not all bits are usable, as the 2 of the highest bits are reserved as early as Windows NT 4.0 build 1264. This reservation effectively decreased the number of available build numbers of Windows from 65,536 initially to just 16,384. While this doesn't seem to be an issue at the time, well, of course it's an issue now over 20 years later. Well, by that logic, build 17,000 is an overflow. And what happens if there's an overflow? Back to 0. Well, for this case, 17,000 minus 16,384 equals to 616. Now you get what I mean. As for the upgrade installation, the UWP looks fine, but you can't run it. Even though certain applications run just fine, the fact that the OS itself is having a civil war and identity crisis, avoiding this build is a must. And by that, Microsoft immediately reverted the build number to 16350 and only returned to sub 17,000 when they fixed the bug. The next build after this is build 17063, which is compiled on December 13th, 2017. While the clean installation works as intended, upgrading from build 17,000 is not possible for now, because as you see, when I try to upgrade to build 17063, well, it doesn't give any file settings and configurations, which is not what I want from this upgrade installation. So I have to revert the build back to version 1709 and upgrade it from there. Before we go to the desktop, I want to point out a change within the OOBE. Password hints for local accounts have been deprecated in exchange for security questions. Now, onto the start menu. The option for app settings has been added to the context menu of any tiles. And this next one is pretty huge. Timeline. Yes, you can now look at what applications that are open or what applications that were open within the past 30 days. I personally love this feature when I use Windows 10, as I tend to forget which apps I use. Yeah, silly me. And by this feature, my little issue with memory has been solved. Along with this feature, the task view icon has been changed to reflect the timeline feature. Opening the settings app, the homepage layout was changed to let descriptions shine more and make icons smaller. Finishing this build's overview, there's one feature that's locked under Velocity ID. Sets! Yes, it returns! Again! By toggling two Velocity IDs, you can now see how the Sets feature works. Although in this build, the feature is exclusive to UWP apps, and opening a new tab opens Microsoft Edge. You also can't drag and drop tabs yet. Do note that this feature will be gone again until builds later. The final build of this update is build 17134, which is compiled on April 10th, 2018. It brings several final changes to this update. Focus Assist, or what people may know in other systems as Do Not Disturb mode, is added on this update. You can tweak how and when the feature works, such as what notifications are visible and when features automatically turns on or off. Activities from a specific time in the timeline can be deleted as a whole. And also, the ability to see applications in the timeline within the past 30 days is now available if you sign into a Microsoft account. Moving to settings, another migration update comes in. Fonts can be configured in Windows settings under personalization category. Sound configurations are also available in the system category, which includes Sound Mixer. For accessibility, the hidden scroll bar animation, or feature as you call it, can be toggled on or off. Lastly, Windows Defender page renamed to Windows Security. This update was initially to be released on April 10th based on internal rumors, but due to a blocking bug, this update was delayed to April 30th. Well, despite that, the issue regarding upgrading to updates starts to rise one after another. People reported that their computer fails to run due to a problem with a certain SSD, or straight up freezes and locks up when opening certain apps such as Google Chrome or even Microsoft's own Cortana. An article from The Guardian suggests that this bug appears to affect newer devices with Intel integrated graphics. Microsoft eventually fixed this issue, but the damage was already done. And, still related to privacy concerns, Brazil filed a lawsuit against Microsoft and seeking over $2 million in damages. If you think that these issues have started to level down, well no, it will continue as we progress. From the market share perspective, this update marks the first time Windows 10 holds the majority of Windows market share, on May 2018 by reaching 47.21%, while Windows 7 is now at 39.44%, and Windows 8.1 dropped quite a lot to 7.78%. October 2018 update was the next update coming in Windows 10. It was released to the public with 1803 as the version number and 17763 for the build number. There is one build that we're going to take a look before we install the final version. The development build in question is 17686, which was compiled on June 3rd, 2018. A strange thing I found while installing this build from scratch is that the setup background is briefly black before it's back to purple. As for OOBE, a page to lure you to connect to the network was added. Onto the desktop. First and foremost, you can now name a tile group in the start menu. Second, File Explorer finally supports dark theme. Yes! But it's still not finished, as several parts of the program still uses the light theme variant, such as these texts and this UI. And now, in this build, I can finally showcase the peak re-return of sets. Yeah, this build is the last build to include the sets feature before taken offline in later builds. When enabled, you can see that the sets title bar is now finalized with an acrylic effect and a new feature there that we'll check out. Pressing a new tab will give you Microsoft Edge, the same case as in the last build. But there is a good thing. You can drag and drop tabs now. And it supports more applications. The feature receives integration as it displays all tabs in the set while using Task Switcher. It can be customized in the multitasking page under System category. Well, not only that, you can switch between tabs in a set inside the timeline. While using File Explorer, pressing Ctrl T will make a new tab and you can open a folder in a new tab right from the menu. Managing tabs in a set is also great with the general option that you would get. When you close a set, you can restore them back by using this button, and it will prompt you to restore it if you want to, but it's quite tricky as several applications may restore, but nothing happens. Moving to Windows settings, the new region page is found in the time and language category. Introducing this build, my favorite feature of Windows is here, Clipboard History. With this feature, you can copy as much as you want to the clipboard, and when you press Windows and V, all texts and images you copied to the clipboard are available when you need them. As for Microsoft's proudly made web browser, Microsoft Edge, it received several changes, like the 3-dot menu introduced a slightly different design with icons for each option. And you can now name a group of tabs you set aside. The next program, the Windows Defender Security Center, gosh that's a long name, is now renamed to just Windows Security. Now that's a way better name. But I believe most people will stick with the Windows Defender name. But hey, at least there's an effort to change. The final program for this build, Screen Sketch, is now spinning off as its own dedicated app. You can take a screenshot, annotate, edit, and save the image right from the app without using a snipping tool. Well, this is the later replacement for snipping tool that'll be named Snip and Sketch and later renamed back to snipping tool. The final version for this update is build 17763, compiled on September 14th, 2018. Several planned features for these updates were finalized, such as the dark mode support on File Explorer, Screen Sketch application, now renamed to Snip and Sketch, and Snip and Sketch is finalized. Snipping tool now shows a notice to migrate people to Snip and Sketch for a better experience. The search panel in this version now uses a wider panel to accommodate more actions than can be done in there. On settings, you can set up a kiosk where a dedicated user account was created and is only capable to run one full screen application and nothing else. For example, this one, where I only allow the calculator app to open this account. Notepad received small changes, such as the status bar visible by default, wraparound text replace support where you can just rotate to the start of the text file when you want to replace a string of text but you're already near or already at the end of the file, and zoom support down to 10% view and up to 500,000 view. Another application that I haven't pointed out is Your Phone app, which is a really useful app for seamless usage by synchronizing photos and messages from your phone. As for how the update goes, oh boy, I want to tell you this one crucial blunder Microsoft made. If you are very unlucky upgrading to this update, chances are your personal data might be removed upon the upgrade. No joke. So if you have no backup before upgrading to this build, well, it's just a good luck for you. Thankfully, Microsoft later rolled back the update and re-released in November of the same year. That one incident alone wraps up what I can tell you about this update. But other than that, it's just your typical feature update, and by the end of 2018, Windows 10 finally reached its sub 50% by rocking at 52.36%, while Windows 7 now sits at 35.63% and Windows 8.1 now at 6.95%. Another feature update for Windows 10, May 2019 update, was released on May 21st, 2019 with 1903 as the version number and 18362 as the build number. This update was previously dubbed April 2018 update. When you upgrade from a previous build, well, the setup is now in white and blue color scheme, replacing the older purple-white found in Windows 10 October 2018 update or older. In addition to that, the Microsoft logo was added, as well as the support and legal link. And by that, the upgrading process was also recolored to a blue-white color scheme. Well, why is that? It'll be relevant once we've upgraded to this update. On the other side, performing a clean installation now feels a little more persuasive. As you enter OOBE, the setting up Windows with no internet connection will lure you again to connect with perks shown here. Restarting the OS, now we can see a change in the logon screen. The background now uses acrylic blur effect rather than just dim. This is to expand the use of fluid design throughout Windows. When we enter the desktop, the hero background was changed to a lighter variant. The start menu has been simplified with just two tile groups, one for productivity and the other for advertising third-party applications. You can now unpin a whole tile group from the start menu, and by that, I'll unpin the advertisement group. No use. Icons for power options have been added. Entering the search panel, top apps introduced as a way to run applications faster. And Cortana, of all things, was separated from search. As for Action Center, quick actions can be customized right on the spot without going to settings first. And there's supposed to be a brightness slider below the quick actions, but I don't have it now as I'm in a virtual machine. Another change made in this update is a light theme for Windows. Well, this doesn't just apply to the applications, the start menu and taskbar finally has the light theme. Moving to the settings app, you'll be greeted with a header on the settings homepage, although I don't have it here. As for pages inside, the fonts page now allows you to install a font by just dragging the font to the area provided, which is a very intuitive way. The cursor and pointer page in ease of access now adds the ability to resize the mouse pointer and change its color. Time can be synchronized manually in the time and language category, and Windows now will reserve some space to accommodate updates and performance labeled as reserved storage. And now, finally, Microsoft allows us to delay updates. Gosh, thank you Microsoft! But only for 35 days. Well, I still count that as a small win. Alright, Remember when we have a notice on Paint to move to Paint 3D? Well, it's no longer there. They finally able to coexist without any merging whatsoever, for now. Lastly, this update adds one feature, Windows Sandbox, which can be used to test out services, software, and anything that you don't trust. It is powered by the Windows virtualization with a dedicated installation copy. Any changes you made in the sandbox will be cleaned or wiped once you shut down or close the sandbox. A pretty neat feature for those who extremely value their safety. During this time, Windows 10 was still climbing at 58.21%, while Windows 7 was still used by around one-third of the people at 31.96%, and Windows 8.1 now at 5.75%. The next update for Windows 10 was pretty unique when it comes to the format. The November 2019 update, which was released on 12th of November 2019, comes with a smaller and more efficient update package as an enablement package. Basically, it still uses the same base as version 1903, but an update package was applied to add features and changes that was previously disabled by default and artificially increase the build number. This makes the build number just one number higher at 16363, with 1909 as the version number. If you're upgrading through with a Windows update in version 1903, the update won't be as big and long as previous version. But if you're still on version 1809 or lower, this logic wouldn't apply and you still need to download big files as the base build is different. Not much change is brought in this version as it's more of a stability update with minimal feature changes. Although there are still changes in this update, such as the hamburger panel automatically expanding when you hover over it, creating events directly through the time and date flyout without going to the calendar first, a managed notification link has been added to the Action Center, and a search update on File Explorer. As this update comes with just a cumulative update package, several Windows 10 users welcome this change as it is deemed less painful than what Microsoft has done in previous updates. Zach Bowden from Windows Central points out that the similarity of this update scheme to Windows' old school Service Pack. But since this is a cumulative update or enablement package, no significant changes, as I pointed out earlier. Even though it's a small update, Windows 10 still receives waves of upgrades, which makes it now at 65.4%, while Windows 7 is slowly losing its dominance at 26.79% and Windows 8.1 at 4.87% by the end of 2019. Ah yeah, 2020, the year of May 2020 update was released to the public with 19041 as the build number and 2004 as the version number. It was picked over 2003 to prevent confusion with Windows Server 2003. And this is the last major update for Windows 10, as this update uses Vibranium, another nod to the Vibranium material from Marvel Comics, as the new base, and later updates only serves as minor improvements and enhancements. There is one development build of this update that I want to install, because what's in it will also ring a bell to you. The development build that I want to install is build 18946 from the rs_xbox_dev branch, compiled on July 23rd, 2020. And yes, I know some of you are gonna say like, oh, that build, sit down first. This build was actually accidentally sent to insiders along with 2 other builds before Microsoft realized it and quickly pulled back the build. Why is the reason? Well, upon installing the build, I'll directly show you what I mean by the one thing in it in question. By enabling a Velocity ID with Mark II and re-logging in, by clicking the start button, et voila! This is what it appears to be a future version of the start menu. You all may be familiar with the layout as it somewhat resembles Windows 10X and Windows 11. And some group of people agree that this is an early form of Windows 11 start menu. Of course, like other early features, this is still not finished as the user profile was badly laid out, the search is not working, and the application list still looks a bit messy. The old start menu is still accessible from the hamburger menu. Do you think that's just that for Windows 11 early features? No! Control Center makes a comeback. Although in this case, the layout still follows the Action Center's quick action with no pane for notifications, unlike the previous update. Lastly, the disk type will display in Task Manager whether you're on HDD or SSD. The final build for this update, 19041, was compiled on May 8th, 2020. This build is the base for all future updates. As for new features, well, Virtual Desktop can be custom named by right-clicking the Virtual Desktop. Cortana now decoupled as its own window. Developer mode is now a toggle. The default profile picture updated to reflect the new light theme. Adjustable mouse cursor speed, customizable text cursor, and the option to automatically save and restart apps after you log out. For context, 2020 was a bad year for Windows users who touch grass and those who don't. Apart from that one, Windows 7 loses its support on January 14th, 2020. This made Windows 7 users at the time, me myself included, obliged to update to newer version of Windows. Microsoft recommends Windows 10 as the primary option. But, well, due to people's trust issue with Windows 10 at the time, some users chose to upgrade to Windows 8.1 instead, or just stayed in Windows 7 for as long as they could. And by that, Windows 10 reaches a very dominating 73.34%, while Windows 7 drops to 19.79%, and Windows 8.1 now at 4.5%. The last noticeable change within an update is this update, October 2020 update, which was released on October 20th, 2020. This update comes as an enablement package, just like version 1909. The difference is that this one is based on version 2004. And by that, the build number was artificially increased to 19042 with 20H2 as the version number. The version number format was changed yet again from using 03 and 09 suffixes to H1 and H2, which marked the first half and the second half of the year. Same purpose, different name. In this update, Microsoft Edge browser was changed to a fork of Chromium, essentially rebrowsing the browser as a whole. And by that, the shortcut for the program is now directing towards the new version. As of this update, the browser version is version 84. Although when you upgrade from a previous version, the old Edge shortcut is still seen on the desktop, but not for long. Another small update comes to the start menu as tiles are now theme aware and no longer uses the user accent color or the application's custom color as a tile background color. Also in the start menu, UWP applications are shown with just their icon without any backplate. The last one is the system applet in control panel now redirects to About page in settings. Continuing with the Windows 7 users migrating to either Windows 8.1 or Windows 10, several users complain about more installation failures as well as driver incompatibility that leads to the blue screen of death. This makes more people have their own trust issues with Windows 10. Well, despite that, by the end of 2020, Windows 10 had finished its market share at 75.68%, with Windows 7 at 18.03% and Windows 8.1 at 3.95%. With Windows 10 updates now coming as an enablement package, no significant changes were seen in later updates. The May 2021 update, which was released on May 18, 2021, with 21H1 as the version number, comes to Windows users as just a small update that artificially increases the build number to 19043. But upgrading to this build is a little challenging for me, as upgrading it without any updates results in no user files being kept after the upgrade, as seen in the setup. Very strange. In order to maintain the user files, I need to apply an update that supports the upgrade to later updates. After applying the updates, I can safely upgrade without worrying about my files and customizations. Within this update, no significant changes other than small additions like multi-camera support for Windows Hello and news and interests. As for the Microsoft Edge version, it's updated to version 89. The development of Windows started to shift to the next version of Windows, codenamed Sun Valley. Although this contradicts the Windows 10 as the last version of Windows statement by Jerry Nixon, the development of this Sun Valley version started as early as December 2019, with Manganese as the development semester. And then, Windows users didn't have to wait long for these boring situations, as someone is about to share one of the most recent builds of feature release of Windows.
It's Windows 11. Surprise, surprise. It's what comes after 10.
Are you ready for Windows 11? Cause it's ready for you.
A leaked build of Windows 11.
Now today we're taking a look at Windows 11 build 21996. This is the first build of Windows 11 that's been leaked at least.
First came the rumors, then some leaked screenshots, then some leaked videos, and now an entire installable build of Windows 11 has been leaked.
Yeah, Windows 11 was shared as the next entry to Windows with massive improvements from the UI to what's under the hood. But to install Windows 11, users needs to wait for a few months before its release, but again, you might know what will enrage users to stay on Windows 10. System requirements. After Windows 10 users know about this, significant amounts of people were like, nah, I ain't upgrading to Windows 11 because the dang TPM UEFI issues and stuff. And other significant amounts of people just, well, try to install Windows 11 without the hassle of those strict system requirements that still occurs to this day. Well, with that in mind, Windows 7 still stays strong at 78.89%, while Windows 7 is still used on 15.56% of computers and Windows 8.1 at 3.46%. On November 16th, 2021, November 2021 update for Windows 10 was released for users who stay on Windows 10 due to personal reference or not having the hardware requirement for Windows 10 with an artificially increased 19044 as the build number and 21H2 as the version number. Microsoft Edge was updated to version 92. At this point, Windows 11 is still going strong because Windows 7 users have no choice but to upgrade to either 8.1 or Windows 10 to continue receiving updates. While on the other hand, people who didn't meet this minimum system requirements for Windows 11 just stay on Windows 10. Still rocking, baby! The release of Windows 11 hasn't shaken Windows 10's dominance by a whopping 82.49%, while Windows 7 now sits at 12.91% and Windows 8.1 at 3.12%. The last update for Windows 10 skips 22H1 altogether and jumped straight to 22H2 like Windows 11 with 19045 as the artificially increased build number. This update was labeled as Windows 10 2022 update. And well, this is it. The last update for Windows 10. Further cumulative updates just backports Windows 11 features to Windows 10 and stuff. I'm not gonna count that. As Windows 11 starts to be used more widely, well, unwillingly, Windows 10 slowly loses its users and now finishes 2022 at 67.95%, while Windows 11 now used by 16.97% of computers, Windows 7 at 11.2%, and Windows 8.1 at 2.6%. The next year, in 2023, Microsoft pulled the plug on Windows 8.1. Yes, this leaves no choice but to upgrade to Windows 10 or Windows 11 if you want to receive updates. And by that, at the end of 2023, Windows 11 starts to take over Windows users at 26.54%, while Windows 10 is now at 67.42%, Windows 7 at 3.35%, and Windows 8.1 at 1.68%. And if that doesn't make you feel terrible for yourself, Microsoft later firms itself to end Windows 10 support on October 14, 2025. So if you're using Windows 10 at the time, you basically just have 2 years left. And after that, well, YOLO. In addition to a whole other problem with Microsoft tried to push users to use Windows 11. Oh yeah, don't forget about the CrowdStrike incident. By 2024, Windows 11 takes over a third of consumers with 34.12%, while Windows 10 still maintains its sub-60 at 62.7%, Windows 7 at 2.41%, and Windows 8.1 at 0.3%. With Windows 10 reaching its final hour, people still resist on upgrading to Windows 11, stating strict hardware requirements and privacy concerns as the main issue, while Microsoft just seems to not care about the issues people brought up and still sunsetting Windows 10 anyway. Although they do give an option for users to enroll on extended security update to get updates for another full year. They need to either get 1,000 points on Microsoft Rewards, backing up data to Windows Backup, or pay a one-time fee of $30. As for Windows 11, Microsoft tried to push people to use a Microsoft account by continuously playing a cat and mouse game for those who are able to install Windows 11 with a local account, starting with OOBE/bypass NRO, down to start MS strip CXH local only. Linux is often seen as an alternative option for Windows due to its massive community following, but not all people are willing to install a whole other OS with a different philosophy and sacrifice their long accustomed computer usage. And some people will just get another computer that's capable to run Windows 11. Windows 10 users can still use Windows 10 just fine. It's not like the OS is suddenly unusable after October 14th, but applications and drivers will start to drop their support for Windows 10 sooner or later. Windows 10 has come through all the rises and falls throughout its 10 years of constant development, if you count the last 3 years. From the last version of Windows to not be the last version of Windows, it has been an honor to use Windows 10 for the past 10 years. Whether you want to stay or upgrade to Windows 11, for now, it's time to shut down Windows 10.